Broadcasting from Meredith Hall Studios, you're listening to Covering the Field Sports Show, featuring sports analysts Big Rich Martin, Rockin, Ronnie McKinnon, Gator Gates. And now here's your host, Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Covering the NBA are our analysts Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. When we left off last Wednesday, Golden State was up 3-2 over Boston, with Game 6 to be played Thursday night. What happened in that game?
Well, Golden State, as we said, they're kings of NBA again. We said that they would win in 6. We predicted on the show they'd win in Game 6 from the beginning over Boston, and we hit it right on the money. Golden State won its 4th Larry O'Brien trophy in the last 8 years. They won 3 straight from Boston. I mean, after Game 1 and 3, I think everybody thought, Boston, give them the crown. They were getting their floats ready, getting the streets ready in Boston to raise that NBA trophy again, but Golden State is the Kings, and they were clearly the better team.
Yeah, Boston was leading in that game. Then there was a 21-0 run by Golden State, and the game was never again close. In fact, every game was decided by 10 or more points. None of the games were close at the end. Kind of disappointing. But
no last minute shots, Joe, but I mean, Steph Curry was amazing. He had 34 points. He got his first finalist MVP. Congratulations to him. He's definitely one of the best we'll see in our lifetime, especially he shot 6 from 11 three-point land. He had 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Andre Wiggins had another great game, had 18 points. He was 4 from 9 from the three-point land, and he grabbed 6 boards. And Draymond Green finally came back and had an outstanding Game 6. He had 12 points. He was actually 2 for 5 from three-point land, and he grabbed 12 boards. Klay Thompson, our Game 6 king, he's supposed to rule Game 6s as a royalty Game 6 guy, but he had a disappointing, only 12 points. But he was 2 for 8. But, when Steph's on doing his thing, what else do you need to do?
Right. Not only you, but me and our producer Cornelius all predicted Golden State in 6. So we're all very proud. And you're right, after Game 3, when Boston was leading the series 2-1, Golden State in 6 was actually 7-1 odds. So not too many people were really thinking they were going to sweep 3 in a row.
And you know what we said, Joe? We both hit on Game 4. We're like, Golden State went into Boston just wanting to split. And they did that exactly. Then they won Game 5 decisively, and then they were the clear champions. And just seemed too much for Boston.
Yeah, when the finals started, Steph Curry, to be the MVP, was just a minus 120. So that was going to be a good bet. Obviously, if they were going to actually win the series, Steph Curry was going to get the MVP because that was the one thing on his resume he didn't have. And
he pretty much got robbed in 2015 out of that one that Douglas got that because of his great defensive play against King James and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, as far as my predictions over the playoffs were concerned, my series predictions, I went 13-2 in the 15 series, with both number 1 seeds, Phoenix and Miami, being my only losers.
And I went 14-1 because the only one I missed was the same one for you, the Phoenix. I don't think anybody had Dallas coming out of Phoenix with a win there. So
yeah, and
excellent job. An excellent job by Mark the Shark Sabella throughout the year. He was over 60%. During the season. He did a great job with the NBA this year. Congratulations. Thank you, Mark.
Yep. And also we should mention the NBA draft is tomorrow. The big question is, who will go first? Auburn's Jabari Smith or Gonzaga's Chet Holmgren? How do the odds look on that?
Well, Chet Holmgren was actually a plus 450, so you can get 4.5 odds on him. Actually, Duke's Paolo Banchero is actually at 240-1, so plus 240, and then you have Jabari Smith minus 275.
Well, it's going to be Smith by all accounts from what I've been reading and seeing, and Holmgren will go second, and Banchero will go third, and we can pretty much set that in stone. Anything like that isn't like that will be an upset.
Okay, so I do have a sink or swim for you there, since we have Gator Gates on with us. Next year's favorite to win is obviously Golden State.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you can give me who the second favorite is.
Boston?
Yes, Boston. Just as Gator wanted, he said he would love to see a rematch of that. I think Boston needs a little bit more help at the point guard position, but after that, I think that they could make a run. But to be the third, would you say it is sink or swim, Milwaukee? Sink or swim, is it the Crooklyn Nets?
Okay. I'm swimming with Milwaukee, but what do you think, Gator?
I think it'd be a better series if Milwaukee won. Or, not won the series, but was there.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Milwaukee just was the champion 2 years ago. That certainly would be a lot more exciting. I don't see the Nets advancing to the finals. Not a chance. There's too much drama on that team. And
I'm with Joe on that, too. Drama in the locker room is not good.
So,
well, it was a trick-rich question. I'm sorry to do that to you guys, but they both are 7-1. So
really?
It's a doggy paddle, not a sink or swim. So I'm thinking that I can't believe Crooklyn's that high because you have the next one, Miami's at 12-1. I think they'd be more favored than the Nets.
Yeah, you'd be crazy to bet the Nets. I'll just advise people not to do that. I'm against that. Moving on to the National Hockey League. Before we get to tonight's Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning, let's review what's happened so far. Gator, remind us of what occurred in Game 1 last Wednesday.
Okay, Joe, not a problem. The question going into this game would be the Avalanche be rusty after having 8 days off? Well, the first 60 seconds they sure did look like it, but after that, Gabriel Landeskog opened the scoring at 7:47 mark in the first for his 9th goal of the playoffs. But by the end of the first, Colorado had a 3-1 lead. Now, the second period went to Tampa Bay with Andre Palat scoring his 9th playoff goal at 12:51 and Mikhail Sergachev scoring his 2nd playoff goal 50 seconds after Palat. Now, that tied the game at 3 apiece heading into the third. There was no scoring in that period, but with a minute 23 in overtime, Andrei Burakovsky scored making the Avalanche having a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, when it was 3-1 in the first, it looked like Colorado could blow Tampa Bay out of the building. Of course, then the Lightning scored those 2 goals. The Avalanche went 50 minutes without scoring a goal before scoring that overtime winner.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And so Tampa Bay almost stole one right there in Colorado.
Yeah, we'd be looking at a way different series if that was the case, sure.
So that was a huge goal. So, Gator, what transpired in Game 2?
Well, Joe, in this game, the Bolts must have thought that they were in Aspen or Vail. The whole game, Colorado had a speed advantage like an avalanche coming down the mountain. Tampa Bay took a roughing penalty at 1:01 into the game, and it looked like they were going to kill it off, but with 7 seconds left in the man advantage, Valery Nikushkin scored to make it a 1-0 game. That was all the highlights for the Lightning. Colorado kept the puck away from them, and Darcy Kepner only had 16 shots to save. Now, the biggest takeaway from this game wasn't the first 2 lines, it was more about the 3rd and 4th line taking care of business. Now, a defenseman, Cale Makar, he did get a power play goal and a shorthanded goal for his 7th of the playoffs, Joe.
Yeah, well, where it looked like Colorado was going to blow Tampa Bay out in Game 1, they certainly did in Game 2, 7-0. I mean, anyone who watched that game had to be thinking a 4-game sweep of the series was definitely possible. It looked like a total mismatch.
Yeah, that's all you heard on the big networks.
Well, if you would look, is it a shutout if you only have 16 saves? Does
no
it still
goal.
count as a save? Does it still? 16 saves. You usually get that in the first period.
You can. You want 10 per period to be happy.
All right. Well,
so
I can
16.
tell you
That's
right now,
half of what they should have.
he was sitting there playing solitaire by himself while they were on the other side of the ice all night.
And like I said in the last episode, when you guys were asking me if it should be Francis or him, didn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
And I proved it right there.
Well, in Game 3, it mattered.
So, Gator, what materialized in Game 3?
Well, just like Big Richard said, it sure did matter. But just like Game 2 where Tampa Bay wasn't ready to play, this time Colorado wasn't ready to play. And besides the Avs looking like they were taking a walk in City Park on a Sunday afternoon, Kemper led in 5 goals on 22 shots. Now, he did get pulled halfway through the second. I give a lot of credit to the Lightning. Having a game like they did in Game 2 and just taking charge of Game 3 like they did, no wonder they've won 2 Stanley Cups in a row, Joe.
Yeah, well, they are. Yeah, they are the two-time defending champions. They did win 6-2. There was a part early in the game, that first goal by Colorado that they scored was overturned because of offside.
And that was a great call, too. It was offsides, too.
I was going to ask you what you thought about that.
Yeah.
Being a Colorado fan.
Oh, you can see white. If you see the blue line, you see white, and you see the puck, that's offsides to me.
Well, it's supposed to be, but they did take a long time looking at that. A little longer than I thought they should.
Yeah, I agree with that, Joe, but I also think they were trying to figure out how much time was on the clock.
Okay.
That's a great point. Well, going with that 2-1, I'll give you guys a swim or sink. 2-1. Golden State was down 2-1, and they were definitely, the champion of the past, just like Tampa Bay's the champion of the past. Swim or sink. Tampa Bay Lightning are going to do the same thing as Golden State and prove that they're the champions. Down 2-1, come back.
Well, I see bubbles in my future here, so I would have to say sink.
Well, of course, I predicted Tampa Bay in 7, so I'm going to be swimming with that. But, I kind of thought Tampa Bay would have split in Colorado if that was really going to happen. But I'm going to stick with my Tampa Bay in 7, but I'm not particularly thrilled with that.
Well, tonight I think the odds makers are going with Gator as their 150 minus 150 favorite on the road.
And that scares me.
That's shocking to me that they would be such a big favorite. I thought that would be very even. Tampa Bay looking so good in Game 3 and being at home.
It did start off at even. Books had it at minus 110.
Wow. That's
So
very surprising.
So everybody's betting on the Avs.
Yeah. So I guess had they scored that goal early, they would have been up 2-0. Might have been a different game. Maybe they're looking like, Colorado should have won that last game, but I didn't see that. Tampa Bay pretty much dominated.
Well, in that last game, you didn't see any glimpse of their speed until the third period, and even then you saw tiny glimpses of it because the game changed. It was a totally different game in that third period. It looked like a 6-2 third period game.
Well, Gator, would you say that Tampa Bay is a great home ice advantage?
Oh, big time.
So then why would you bet minus 150? I'm going to have to talk to my producer about that.
Because a winner's a winner.
Okay, good deal. Good
right.
choice.
So who should be in goal for the Avalanche, do you think?
Francois.
Well, the way I heard it, it's going to be Kemper starting in goal.
He's 6-0. Kemper just gave up 5 shots. He gave up 5 goals and 22 shots. He should only given up 2 goals.
Well, didn't Joe Sakic go and get Kemper?
Yeah.
So I guess Joe Sakic's still making the calls upstairs on who's going to be the goalie.
Well, I don't know about that, but I just, like Joe always asks me, Kemper's a good goalie, but I don't think Sakic should have given the whole house away that he should for that goalie. Shoot, we could have taken Francis, another guy like him, at that price. We have a defense that will keep the puck away. That game 6, he only had 16 shots. He had a shutout. You know what? Nobody was talking about that.
So if they're raising the trophy, it's a great choice by Sakic. If they're not, then he's going to be under scrutiny a little
I
bit.
don't think that the goalie matters.
Okay.
I think that the Avalanche are that good. I just think that, like I said, it looked like they were walking through the park. Now, all the networks were saying how great the Tampa Bay did, and I ain't taking nothing away from Tampa Bay. But Colorado was not Colorado. Not even close.
Well, every game has gone over also. Do you see that continuing? We had a 3-3 going into overtime, ended up at 7. I guess you could say that was like a 6 without overtime.
I don't like these stats going on and on and on. They end sometime, and this is one of those stats that, God, it just looks too easy.
It seems,
you take a loan out on your house to take this one.
It seems like you just take the over until
So that
one of the games
scares me.
doesn't go over.
Yeah, so that scares me. So, but that being said, no.
Okay.
But it wouldn't shock me.
And you guys are both on record of taking Colorado to win. You said in 5.
Yeah, they win tonight. They're winning in Denver.
And I say they win Game 7.
And 7, right. And I'm taking Tampa Bay at 7. I'll be, just to be contrary here, I'll go the other way. And some side notes. Lightning's Pat Maroon trying to win his 4th straight Stanley Cup. And Corey Perry is the first player ever to score a goal in the finals for 4 different teams.
I know, that's amazing. Congratulations to Perry.
Yes. By the time we do our show next Wednesday, the hockey season will be finished. I'm just going to ask you, Gator, do you have, sad, isn't it?
Yeah, you want me back next week, Joe?
Absolutely. Gator, do you have any favorite traditions that you would like to share in hockey?
Well, the one that I really like is the handshake at the end. Because they beat each other up, they bruise, there's stitches, there's blood, there's everything. But then too, at the end, they're going to go have a beer at the end. So to me, that means more than just the handshake. It's just more the gestures. It's a lot more than just a handshake, Joe.
Yeah, it's a great tradition. They all line up and one by one shake hands.
Yeah, it's great.
Pretty amazing. Most of mine are just in the playoffs, getting your name etched on the Stanley Cup and spending 24 hours with it. A lot of interesting stories of what people have done with the cup within that 24 hours. The playoff beard, you don't shave during the playoffs.
That's one I can live without, Joe.
Okay, all right.
Well, does McKinnon have a beard?
I
don't think he does.
Well, maybe
he can't grow one.
He can't grow one, and he looks so bad that he just decides whatever fuzz goes up there, he just shaves it off.
I'll take McKinnon with no beard any day.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe
totally.
That is his beard, and you just can't see it.
That could be too.
And sudden death overtime. I love that. In theory, it can go on forever. The fact that there's no commercials during overtime also. Except, I guess, the first whistle after 10 minutes, they shovel the loose ice off to make it easier to score. And this one I really love. Only one 30-second timeout per team per game. Could you imagine football or basketball with only one timeout?
Basketball would be hard, yes.
So, anyway, excellent segment, you guys. Moving on now to football. The playoffs are set with 2 games scheduled for Saturday in the United States Football League. The games will be played in Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Although it will be hot there, it won't be as hot as Birmingham, Alabama, where the regular season was played, and temperatures on the field last Saturday reached 120 degrees. Big Rich, give us some information about the teams.
Well, I'm definitely going to give you some information about the teams, as I told you last week. But let's go back at what we saw this year. Are you guys both happy with what the USFL? I'm very happy with the product they put on the field.
Yeah, I am.
I thought, yeah.
Go ahead.
It looked like good football. It's definitely a step above college football in quality. I would say maybe I watched a Canadian game the other day, maybe slightly lower than Canadian.
Okay.
And
I like the Canadian Football League too.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm a really big fan of it. So
most of these players, I think what they did right was they don't want to compete with the NFL. As we know, last year we changed the league format. We went to 17 games, but we cut down 2 preseason games. So the 2 preseason games is what these guys would probably be playing in. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, these guys are mostly, practice squad guys. Maybe somebody's going to make second or third string. Is that the type of athletes that are out there? Is that correct?
yeah, I would say. I would say there was probably an average of about 2 players per team that definitely belong in the NFL.
Right.
I think the league just gives them a second chance.
I think
that's
it's
what
better.
I like it. That's what I like.
And I like it better because I think preseason's horrible. Watching preseason games, it's boring. The product isn't there. Not like the USFL this season. I thought it was very excellently coached. I know, Joe, you don't agree with a lot of the coaching, but I think that they do run it like a professional organization. These coaches have experience in this, either in college or in the pros. They've been head coaches in high-profile positions, and I think that they brought that into it, and I thought that the league did a great job, and I've enjoyed watching it, and we made some pretty good money.
Well, I want to say, how many first-round draft picks actually stay 2 years, 3 years, and how many sixth-round draft picks stay 2 years, 3 years? I think having this league gives you a chance to, if you didn't make it, if you're not considered one of the best, and then you're a sixth-round draft pick, and everybody's talking about you, you hear that all the time. So I do think I love this league for that.
And let's go over how much they're making. We talked about that before. They get $4,500 per game. So if you play 10 games, you're looking at $40,000, but roughly somewhere in $45,000 to play. And also, there's an incentive. You get $850 per win. So it brings it so that the players want to win. And most of these players probably are maybe they might make the team, but most of them will be practice squad players for the NFL, and so they can continue making money into that. But also, there's a $10,000 bonus for each member of the team that wins the USFL championship.
Well, that's great. I love that. Paxton Lynch is making the same amount as a punter on his same team. Everybody makes the same amount.
I like that too.
It's a good concept. Paxton Lynch was a first-round draft pick by the Broncos.
Right. He's still living off that money. I'm sure he got paid pretty good from the Denver faithful out there.
Speaking of living off the money, one guy who didn't deserve it was Jeff Fisher, my buddy. $7 million to coach the Michigan Panthers. I think they won 2 games, and they were both against Pittsburgh.
And another thing they did good in the USFL, which they're bringing new things out, like the cameras and the drones. I'm just waiting for one of those to smack a player. They seem like they're just so close to the players, they're in their ear hole. And I think that how they did the last game of the year, Pittsburgh and Michigan, instead of the losing team getting the first round pick, the winning team got the first round pick. So Michigan will draft first next year in the USFL.
That's a very good idea. Once you get to that point, make them win.
Exactly. I think the cameras have been good, especially with the refs having their cameras on there and the players having the cameras. The drones are a little bit wild, but you definitely get some better views of the football game. And I think the punters punted great. There was a 90-yard punt last week. So.
I was going to say there was a kicker who kicked a 61-yard field goal. Like you said, the punter had a 90-yard punt. There were some running backs that looked pretty good. Receivers and corners had some good battles. The quarterback play, I didn't see a whole lot of great play there. You can't have everything.
Well, like you said, I think it was better than watching the preseason game quarterbacks. I mean, these guys are getting the reps in practice, and they definitely are doing better. But let's break down the North first. The New Jersey Generals, 9-1, running a 9-game winning streak. They're going against the Philadelphia Stars. These teams both played in Week 6. Week 3, New Jersey won 24-16. Philadelphia Stars were ahead in that game at halftime, and their star quarterback went out, and Case Kukas took over and didn't get that job done that week. But in Week 10, they played again, and New Jersey won last week, 26-23 in a competitive game. I was I thought there would be more bland game. I thought it would be a little bit lower scoring than it was, but they actually played a really great game up to, it was 49 was under over.
Yeah, I would say New Jersey is favored by 4.5. The over-under total is 47.5. This is my chance to brag. My predictions went a perfect 3-0 last week.
Perfect job.
So I'm riding high going into the playoffs. I foresee a contest, like you said, much like the one last week, the 26-23 game. That's another thing. It's tough to beat a team 3 times in one season.
Well, let's talk about those quarterbacks out there for the Generals. They have 2 quarterbacks that they use. They had Luis Perez, who kind of took over when DeAndre Johnson got hurt. He's played great. He's at 1,200 yards passing with 9 touchdowns. And like we talked about DeAndre Johnson, he shares time with him. He's more of a mobile quarterback, but he also has 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. The thing was last week when he took off running, as I had the under, I was hoping they wouldn't score. And they take off running, and he runs 35 yards. Instead of going bounce and slide, and he tries to get an extra 3 yards, gets cracked, and gets put out of the game. So I don't know if he's even available this week, but as you can see, these guys are trying. It's this game meant nothing. You don't get home field advantage. You get $900. So, I mean, I don't know if that's worth getting your bell rung for $900, but, I mean, they were playing hard, and I thought it was great. The New Jersey Generals are stacked with trophies this year. MVP, Kayvon Turpin, their wide receiver, got the MVP. The Offensive Player of the Year was Darius Victor, their running back. And actually, I think Trey Williams is just as good as him. They have 2 running backs. He had 100 yards last week. And the Coach of the Year went to Mike Riley. So congratulations to them. Obviously, they're picking these guys to do good in the playoffs. The one thing that the rich big stat of the week, New Jersey has rushed 221 yards average in those Week 3 and Week 10 games. So Philadelphia has a hard time stopping the run, and New Jersey loves to run the football. So I don't know if the over is such a great bet, but I can tell you this: that Case Cook looks great, and his wide receiver is Bug Howard. He has 371 yards, and so they have their DB Cheney Striblings has 7 interceptions. So they do get a lot of interceptions. So let's look for that game. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to take Philadelphia Stars with the 4.5.
Yep. I'm taking Philly plus the 4.5 also. A game just like last week, I'm seeing. Also, the Stars have been an amazing over team this season,
Right.
going 7-1-1 over in their last 9 games. The Generals are 4-1-1 over in their last 6. In fact, the Generals have gone under only twice all season. So this is a good matchup. Should be a good, exciting, high-scoring game.
Yeah, the Philadelphia is the highest scoring team in the USFL.
Yep.
And so I would say that would be a good bet. I think I will take the over, and I'm going to say it's a close game. It's a field goal game. Philadelphia Stars plus the 4.5.
We're totally in agreement. Philadelphia plus 4.5 and over 47.5. Love it. Big Rich. Oh, Gator, did you have a selection on that before we go on?
Well, I like New Jersey to win, but I don't like them covering the spread. So if you're taking the points, I would go with Philadelphia. But I think New Jersey's going to win with that with that running game that Big Richards was talking about. It's hard to stop that running game.
Okay, so we're in agreement on Philly. No pick on the side. I mean, on the total at this moment.
Over. Like you guys said, Philadelphia can score. And in that last game, I thought New Jersey, weren't they up huge until like the fourth quarter, and then Philadelphia started scoring?
I thought it was a back and forth game from what I saw.
Not sure. I only saw glimpses.
I mean, they were playing hard. There's no doubt. I mean, Philadelphia did. They said they signed a couple people that had some injuries, but I mean, they had Case Cooking their whole time slinging that football. So I mean, they're gonna.
I do think New Jersey's going to win, but I don't think they'll cover the 4.5. I think that's too high.
Okay.
All right, we're in total agreement, all three of us. Big Rich, what about the second game that has the Birmingham Stallions favored by 5 and the total at 44.5 against the New Orleans Breakers?
Well, the Birmingham Stallions, like you said, they're 9-1, and they played all their home games. And
the only home
team, but they're not at home anymore. They're going up north. The New Orleans Breakers were 6-4. They had a heartbreaking loss, I thought, last week. That was just one of my ones that I lost. I went 4-2 last week in my picks. I thought the Breakers would win that game, but because the defense is so good for the Breakers, they gave up 20 points, but their defense gave up only 6 points. There was 2 touchdowns last week. One was by a special teams block kick, and the other one was by they set Stotler, the quarterback, and they put Zach Smith in there, and he looked like he was in 3rd grade playing on the playground. He threw a pick right to the linebacker right in the middle on the 10-yard line, and he walked in, and then he threw another interception and gave him great field position too. So that defense was against the bad field position all game. They still played great. They didn't play Kyle Stotler, who is the offensive player of the year for the USFL, and he has 1,798 yards with a 57% completion rate. He does have 9 picks, so he does like to sling it. But I think that the Big Rich stat of the week is going to be this on this game is the points the defense have allowed. Birmingham has allowed 169 points this year, and the Breakers have allowed 164. So they're the 2 best. Both are pretty stingy on that. Another big stat to know that Birmingham has had a comeback in 9 out of their 10 games in the second half. So they are a second half team. So I think the first half, under for sure. I'm taking the under all the way, and I'm definitely going to have to say I'm going to pull an upset. I can't pull an upset, Joe. On that one, I'm going to have to take the Birmingham to get it done. But I think it's going to be a low scoring game.
Are you going to take the points, the 5 points?
I'm going to drop the 5 points.
You're going to lay the 5 points.
I'm going to lay the 5 points. I'm taking the Birmingham now. I know that Gator's crawling in his skin right now, but I think that they're just the best team. I mean, they're one of the best teams, and I'm going to say that it's going to be. I think it's going to be the 2 9-1 teams are going to play each other in the USFL Super Bowl.
Yeah, Gator, something to add to that?
Okay, well, this game looks like a big trap to me because all the numbers favor Birmingham. They even have Birmingham at 8-5 to win the whole thing. I like New Orleans. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. They're at a plus 180. I'm going to go New Orleans.
So you're going New Orleans and under then?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And money line even?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It just looks like a trap. It looks like it's too easy to put your money on Birmingham, and those kill.
Well, actually, if you look at it a little more closely, Birmingham has cooled off somewhat lately. They failed to cover the point spread in their last 4 games. So they started off hot, and they're not so hot right now. And again, as I said earlier, it's difficult to beat a team 3 times in one season. So I'm trying New Orleans plus the 5 points.
Another thing to look at is they have a pretty good running game. They have Marble, and they also have Bo Scarborough that used to play for Alabama. He runs really hard and mean. I think we're going to see a lot of him this week. I think that, I think they're going to done, but it's going to be, I think 44.5. I'm going under in that game for sure.
Yeah. As for that total, only one Breakers game has gone over 44.5 points all season. And the last 4 Stallions games have gone under that number as well. The final scores between these teams during the season were 22-13 and 10-9. So the pick is, for me, is New Orleans +5 and under 44.5. We'll see how that goes. And I guess one final note, we should probably talk about your friend and mine, Deshawn Watson, in the NFL.
Did you say Deshawn Watson or Deshawn Watson? I think it's Deshawn Watson. Anyway, 20 out of the 24, he settled with 20 out of 24 allegations against him in a civil court. So he still has 4 remaining allegations against him. And I think that one is very serious, and with text messaging and some other areas that, is going to be hard to defend against. And so I don't think that she's settled. She's going to take it all the way to the final. So I'm taking over. I'm saying that Cleveland Browns are not going to have Watson for at least probably at the most 6 games.
Yeah, I'm going to predict an 8-game suspension. I'm going to go over 6 on that one.
Okay.
Half a season. Gator, do you want to touch this subject?
I have no clue. I mean, no. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
The courts are not involved in this. This is the league basically deciding the suspension, but the actual civil lawsuits. That's where
civil lawsuits.
That's where the courts are involved.
Exactly.
So,
but there are 47% of the NFL audience and fans are female, so I think that's going to put way heavy on Roger Goodell's decision.
Yeah, it'll be a heftier suspension than people think. So, Gator and Big Rich, excellent work. Stepping up to the plate now is our baseball correspondent, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon. How are you doing today?
Joe, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic.
Right on.
Ronnie, what's the news this week in Major League Baseball?
Okay, Joe, we have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. Actually, last night, again, Ohtani, the Angels, the designated hitter and the pitcher, right? In Anaheim, at home for the Angels. They're playing Kansas City, who's not that great of a team this year, but they all win games. Actually, they beat the Angels 12-11 in 11 innings. But Ohtani went 3 for 4, 2 home runs, and 8 RBIs. So that was a big night for Ohtani, and he always seems to pop in there, even though the Angels are still losing often after that big losing streak and changing managers and all that. Ohtani still happens to pop up and get big hits and home runs and pitches good when he pitches. So, and I still think the Angels are gonna be in this thing as time goes on. So, another thing that I wanted to bring up. There's so many young guys coming, and teams are pulling them up from the farm system. And there's this kid, O'Neal Cruz, and he is, I watched some of that. He's a shortstop for the Pirates, and he's 6'7". He bats left and throws right. He played his first game Tuesday night and last night. 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. He has speed. He hits the ball really hard. He threw to first base, and the ball was traveled at 96.7 miles per hour. And since they've been tracking that, StatCast, since 2015, that's the 3rd fastest throw from shortstop to the first baseman. So, some of they got another kid on there too, and I call them kids. They're in their early 20s, but they're young men, and they've Pirates have got some other guys too that are going to be their names are going to be starting to pop up that they're putting on the major league squad. So anyway, yeah, it's pretty amazing. 6'7" and a shortstop to boot, right? But he's got all the skills, they say. So a couple injuries. Unfortunately, Mookie Betts for the Dodgers, right fielder, on the 10-day IL. I think it's going to be longer. They they said cracked rib. Now they're calling it a rib fracture. Sounds a little bit more serious there. He actually collided with Cody Bellinger on a fly ball in the outfield last week, and I hate to see anybody get hurt, but Lord, it would have been better if Bellinger got a little hurt instead of Betts, right? Because Bellinger hasn't been able to hit yet at all. But of course, again, I don't want anybody getting hurt, that's for sure. But yeah, the X-rays came out negative. Then they did an MRI, and so that's where he's at. And then Tyler Anderson, the guy that's done a great job pitching for the Dodgers, he actually threw last week 8 1/3 no hitter through 8 1/3 innings versus the Angels. 1 hit, a run, a couple of walks, a hit batter, and 8 strikeouts. He actually threw 123 pitches, and so that's pretty cool. I mean, he's helped a lot, and of course Walker Buehler is going to be out for 3 months at least, and so they've had some issues there. But all teams do, so you got to fight through it and find some other guys to step up.
Yeah, it's nice they let the guy pitch 123 pitches.
Exactly. That's exactly what I kind of was gonna go on with that a little bit, because it doesn't happen very often at all anymore.
Probably the only time all season so far.
Well, yeah, it's a couple other guys have done it, and of course the Dodgers lost Trevor Bauer. That guy would throw 130 pitches almost every time he pitched. They couldn't get him out of there, and he was a really great pitcher, and never seemed to be hurt either. But we've lost him for a couple of years, and who knows what'll happen after that.
Any other stories you want to cover before we get to
just that
predictions?
Which was stated at the beginning of the season on Monday the 20th. The teams had to cut one of the players on the current, playing roster, and if you had 14 pitchers, you have to cut one of those down to 13 pitchers. If it's a position player, same thing. They have to, drop a player from the roster right now, and you can't have more than 13 pitchers. So that took effect Monday night.
All right. Well, Ronnie, pick-wise, your season total, you're doing very well. You're 25-13. Do you have any predictions for this week's game?
Well, I definitely will put some on tomorrow or Friday at the latest. Who knows, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. I'm not sure yet, but I'll put them on there on the site in plenty of time before those games start. It'll be the day before the game, so people have a chance to
okay. We'll be
bet on if they choose.
We'll be looking forward to some more good picks.
Right on.
On a side note, we have to give a shout out, a related story, to our listener Danimal. The week you went 7-0, that perfect 7-0 week on your predictions, that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Danimal hit a 4-teamer with your picks off the website.
I know, that's so cool. That's awesome. I'm good for him. Right on.
Yes, he said thank you, and he'll be running into you one of these days.
You're quite welcome, and more good luck.
Yeah. So, Ronnie, how are the standings looking, and who's hot and who's not?
Well, those New York teams, pretty amazing. The Yankees, 50 wins right now. They've actually lost 2 out of the last 3, but they're 50-18. They also lead in the run differential, runs allowed and given up, and they lead in runs allowed, whereas the Mets lead in runs scored. Both those things usually the Dodgers are ahead of, but both New York teams, pretty amazing. In that East, Toronto is 12 games back in second place. The Red Sox have been playing a lot better. They are 12.5 back in third place. Tampa Bay, 13 games back in fourth place. And I still think all those teams are going to be playing and having a chance to make the playoffs, especially this year with an extra team. We get to the Central, Cleveland and Minnesota. It's like Cleveland is actually, taken over. They're actually tied. They're 5 percentage points ahead. They have a 35-28 record. Minnesota's played 3 more games. They're also 7 above 500 at 38-31. So right now they're tied. I think that's going to go to the end. And I think the White Sox, who I talked about at the beginning of the year, are going to be in this mix as we go. They suffered a tremendous amount of injuries pitching from the very beginning of the season. They've just got to 500 at 33-33. They're only 3.5 back in that division. Then in the West, Houston, 42-25. Texas has actually moved into second place, even though they're 3 games below 500. They're 10 games back. The Angels, I still think they're going to get it together. Like I mentioned before, they're 5 games below 500. They're 11 games back. Seattle, I think, is going to be better. We expected them to be better than they are right now. They're 9 games below 500. They're 13 games out.
Yep.
And
Seattle's been a big disappointment.
They have, and I still think they're going to make a run, especially this year with the extra wild card team. Go to the National League again. The Mets, 45-25. Atlanta, of course, has been playing awesome. They're 39-30 now. They're 5.5 back. I think that, and I do think the Phillies too. They're actually 3 above 500 now at 36-33, 8.5 back. I think those 3 teams will still will be in the mix and into a good chance for the playoffs. So we go to the Central. I don't mean to just throw out Miami. They're 30-36, only 6 games below, and they're actually playing better than a lot expected, even though they're still below. And again, there's all the teams are played anywhere. Some have played 3 or 4 or less. So teams are anywhere from 43 or 4 or 5 up to almost, look at the Yankees, 68 games. So there's a little difference there on not everybody's played the same amount, but obviously they'll all catch up. In the Central, Milwaukee and St. Louis. St. Louis had pulled ahead of them last week. Right now they're dead even tied at 39-31. Then we have Pittsburgh, the Cubs, and Cincinnati. And then in the West, just like last week, the Dodgers and the Padres are tied. Same record. Padres have actually played 4 more games. So the Dodgers are 7 percentage points ahead is why they list them in first place. But technically, record-wise, they're even. The Giants still right there, 38-29. They're 3.5 back, and I think those 3 all still be going at it as the year goes on. We had there was a game in process earlier. It's probably over by now. Houston was beating the Mets 5-3 in the 8th. Toronto was beating the White Sox 9-5 in the 8th, and those games are probably over by now. But and then we have Philadelphia, Texas, Arizona, San Diego is going on right now. All the rest of the games later on.
All right. Well, Ronnie, the Men's College Baseball World Series is in full swing. What's been going on there?
I know, fun stuff to watch. Just like the Women's Softball College World Series was. This is good. So last Friday, June 17th, we had Oklahoma beating number 5 Texas A&M. Notre Dame beat number 9 Texas. Saturday, Arkansas beat number 2 Stanford. And Ole Miss beat number 14 Auburn. Then we went into that was Saturday. Then Sunday, in fact, and let me say also those games I just mentioned, that was 4 unseeded teams that beat 4 seeded teams. So we went into Sunday, we had Texas A&M, number 5 beating number 9 Texas. That eliminated Texas. Oklahoma won again, Joe. They beat Notre Dame 6-2. Monday, we had number 14 Auburn beating number 2 Stanford, which eliminated Stanford. And then Ole Miss beating Arkansas. We went into Tuesday, last night. Number 5 Texas A&M beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame eliminated. And Arkansas beat number 14 Auburn 11-1. Auburn eliminated. Earlier today, Texas A&M lost to Oklahoma, Joe. Oklahoma beat them 5-1. That game eliminated Texas A&M. And right now, going on, it started at 2 o'clock our time, 1 o'clock our time, sorry. Ole Miss and Arkansas. So I don't know where that's at this point. Tomorrow, if necessary, but then the Men's College World Series Finals, which is the best 2 out of 3. as these other games were double elimination, this is 2 out of 3. And it'll be Saturday the 25th at 3 p.m. our time, Sunday the 26th at 11 a.m. our time, and if necessary, Monday at 3 p.m. For game 3 if necessary again. So that's where we're at, and it's been pretty exciting. So what do you think, Joe?
Well, going into today, I didn't see that score earlier, the Oklahoma score. I was a little busy, but 4 teams were left. 3 were from the Southeastern Conference, and Oklahoma from the Big 12. So the Southeastern Conference proved their strength like we thought they would. The first 10 games, they'd been decided by a combined score of 93-27. No game had ended with the losing team closer than 4 runs. That had never happened before. So a lot of blowouts.
Yeah, that good information there, Joe.
There you go.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
For the 13th time in 14 seasons, at least one team will be from the Southeast Conference. Texas A&M was the only seeded team left. They're out. So the 3 teams left, unseeded. It just shows how unpredictable this tournament is. Ole Miss, their pitching has been amazing. They've allowed only 4 earned runs in 2 games going into today's game. That's a major force there.
Yeah, I don't know. We have any updates?
Starts at 4 o'clock.
Oh, it said 4 Eastern when I saw it, and 1 which I thought was 1 our time. Okay, well, my mistake.
Our game.
It says 4 Pacific time, right? Okay, cool.
Well, today Arkansas must beat Mississippi and then again beat them tomorrow to reach the finals. So that's going to be very hard to do. Texas A&M had to beat Oklahoma twice, but of course they lost.
That's right. Yeah, they that's what would have caused a game tomorrow, and still can be with Ole Miss and Arkansas.
Right.
So yeah, it's been pretty cool. I was so involved with the women's softball where it's 7 innings that I realized that they actually play 9 innings in these games.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just like pros.
Sure.
And I had let go of that until I realized, oh yeah, I'm not doing softball. I'm doing.
You're doing baseball right
doing
now.
hardball again, right? So it's been pretty exciting, and we're going to see what happens now.
As far as the odds, the first time I grabbed a sheet on April 8th, Arkansas was 8-1. On June 2nd, they were 35-1. So they went up. That's how poorly they had been playing.
Right.
And here they are now. When the College World Series started, they were 7.5-1. So pretty decent odds. Mississippi opened at 15-1. They played terrible during the season. They ended up at 60-1, then 8.5-1.
Right. Yeah.
So those are 2 teams that were supposed to be much better.
Ole Miss.
And Arkansas.
Yeah.
And ended up just at the end of the season putting it all together.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a big
far,
baseball guy. It's fun to watch, and just like the softball was with the women, and of course the Major League Baseball also.
As far as Texas A&M and Oklahoma, they were both 8-1 and 9-1 when the College World Series actually started. At regionals, A&M was 25-1, and the Sooners were 50-1. On April 8th, Oklahoma and Texas A&M were both the same odds. Do you want to venture to guess what odds they might have been at that point?
And what date was that?
On April 8th.
Not that long ago.
You just think high. Really high. Over and under?
90.
350 to 1. If I just put $5 on Oklahoma, just because they're my favorite team, I'd have the ticket for 350 to 1. That just shows you how unpredictable this tournament is.
No doubt. And you've been rooting from all the way. Of course, the women took care of the.
Well, that's the thing.
The College World Series.
When you want to make a prediction, do you want to make a prediction there, Ronnie?
You know what? I'm going to be shooting for Ole Miss to take care of Arkansas, and then that'll be a great matchup, Ole Miss and Oklahoma, from where
Absolutely.
I mean, Ole Miss hasn't been giving up much, and of course we know Oklahoma's been playing good. That'd probably be the best matchup, but we'll see what happens, and if that happens, I'll be going for Ole Miss.
Right. Well, of course the pitching is there with Ole Miss. It's so hard to beat a team back to back. Obviously, Oklahoma's already in. Mississippi should be there because we don't see them losing 2 times to Arkansas.
Correct.
So Oklahoma, well, my prediction, of course, will upset Mississippi in the finals and join the women's softball team as national champions.
You got to keep going for that.
An amazing year for Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah, you got to keep going for that, right? And yeah, I think it'll be good too because this game this afternoon, Ole Miss and Arkansas. Obviously they don't want to have to play again tomorrow and put another pitcher out there. Usually, these teams have a smaller select of pitchers that they want throwing here, and of course they have to take time off in between by what rules and stuff they have,
and save a pitcher for Saturday, Sunday, and possibly Monday.
Exactly. So I think that would be
there's strategy involved there.
Ole Miss is surely going to want to win this game this afternoon and not have to play tomorrow. But
that's right.
Arkansas has gone way further than we thought they would go too. So,
right. Well, terrific segment, Ronnie. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Completing our sports coverage is Gator Gates. Gator, after the race in Sonoma and then a rare week off, NASCAR returns to action in Nashville for the second time. Who have you got?
Okay, Joe, well, when I'm looking at this race, I'm looking more at the Chevys and the Toyotas. I don't think the Fords are going to have that great of a race. I'm going to take the Chevys, and Kyle Larson won last year, so I'm going to take Chase Elliott.
Yeah, it's really hard to say when they've only raced one time ever to sit there and make a prediction on a certain track, but certainly Kyle Larson will be one of the favorites. What occurred in the Formula One race in Montreal, Canada, last Sunday?
I like this track, Joe. You can pass at this track. A lot of tracks you can't, but in qualifying, they did it in the rain, and that Alpine's driver, Fernando Alonso, was the second fastest right behind Max Verstappen. Now, in the race, though, he received a penalty for weaving on the straightaway, which is very dangerous, Joe, at very high speeds, and that did put him 9th in the finish line. But Max finished 0.9 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz and extended his championship lead to 46 points over Sergio Perez. That also gave Red Bull their 6th straight win with 76 points over Ferrari in the constructor standings. Now, the safety car did restart the field with 15 laps left, but Sainz couldn't get close enough to Max to even try to attempt to pass him. And Lewis Hamilton ended a string of horrible runs by claiming 3rd place. And Charles Leclerc, the Ferrari, he only received 10 points by finishing 5th.
Yep, Red Bull is doing really, really well this year. Verstappen won at minus 120. So not a lot of money there to be had in Formula One. It's not too often that you can actually get very good odds on Formula One.
Right, but a winner is a winner, Joe.
That's right. And I guess there's 13 races left to the season.
Right, 13 races left, but it should be 14, Joe. But since the race in Sochi, Russia, has been canceled. But we're not racing this week, but July 1st to the 3rd, we will be at the Silverstone circuit in Britain. Now, last year's winner was Lewis Hamilton. We'll see, Joe. We'll make a prediction next week.
We'll make a prediction next week.
Yeah.
Moving over to golf, what transpired at the U.S. Open in Brookline, Massachusetts last weekend?
Okay, well, Will Zalatoris, he missed a 14-foot putt on 18. That would have paired him with Matt Fitzpatrick in a playoff hole. Now, that was Zalatoris' 3rd runner-up position in 9 major events. And Fitzpatrick won his first major title by 1 stroke ahead of Will and Scotty Scheffler. Now, for me, Joe, it looked like a goodbye party at the end. The players were shaking hands with the crowd and signing autographs. It just seemed to me that there's going to be a lot more golfers that are going to go to that LIV golf. And it was a little sad for me.
Yeah, well, the PGA is scrambling right now, trying to change some of the rules and their tournaments in order to try to keep who's left. So we'll see how that progresses.
But I also think I saw something where the USGA is going to allow them to be in the majors.
Well, they should be allowed to be in the majors regardless of what
I think so too.
What tour they're on. So there's going to be some what do I want to say? Some compromise going on.
Well, they should, but the PGA is got their chest out a little bit, and their pride is hurt right now.
Well, Fitzpatrick was at 30-1. That was a pretty nice hit, if you possibly got that.
Yeah, that's why golf's so hard, Joe.
He also won the 2013 U.S. Amateur at Brookline, so he did know the course well, being a Brit and coming over here and winning the U.S. Open, but he's quite familiar with the course. Big advantage.
Jack Nicholson comes to mind. I think he did the same thing.
Okay. And, when Zalatoris hit that putt, I thought he made it.
I did too, Joe. I really did.
I was shocked when the ball slid by. That would have been awesome to see a nice 2-hole playoff. But, of course, that didn't happen. And last but certainly not least, tennis's third major of the year, the Wimbledon Championships, are set to begin Monday at the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club just outside of London. Who are the favorites, and who are your predictions to win?
Well, Djokovic is the favorite right now, very big favorite too. I don't see anybody else beating him, Joe. I guess you can go with Nadal, but not on Wimbledon. So I'm gonna have to take Djokovic.
Yeah, no, Djokovic is the 3-time defending champion, in fact, and he's going to be my pick too. Rafael Nadal, yes, he's won this year's first 2 majors. He's attempting to set up a calendar year Grand Slam at the U.S. Open in September, but I just don't see that happening. Any thoughts about the women's side?
Well, I'll do the same thing. I'll take the field, Joe.
Yeah. Take the field.
Take the field.
All right. Well,
it's going to be Iga in the field, right?
I don't know about that. She is riding Iga Swiatek. She's riding a 35-match winning streak. She's the favorite, my pick, I guess, but she's never won on grass courts. So we could easily see an upset there.
That would be nice. I'd be up for that.
Yes. And by the way, Russian players are not allowed to play because of their invasion of the Ukraine. So we'll be missing some really good players.
That's sad.
Yep. Thank you, Gator. Fantastic job.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for, the stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So Gator, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Well, Joe, the 2024 Olympic Games are going to be held in Paris, France. And Monday, the boxing officials were warned to change their culture. Now, investigator Richard McLaren said that corruption is abundant in the boxing world. The 114-page report highlighted ongoing concerns with unjustified judging scores, warnings by refs, and secret signals between officials and the crowds. But the 2028 games are going to be held in Los Angeles, and boxing as of right now is not on that schedule. Now, in a sport that historically does not respect ethics or integrity, I think that there is no way that this sport can change. I just think that it's way too embedded into the sport, and I really do hope that I'm wrong. But this week, I would have to say, if you're a boxing fan, you got hosed.
Well, boxing fans have been getting hosed. The Olympic boxing was proven to be fixed in 2016, and not proven, but heavily suspected to be fixed in 2012. I don't know what exactly happened in 21 there, but
Oh, they didn't get caught.
The investigations are ongoing there too.
They just didn't get caught. Oh, Joe, do you have a You Got Hosed story?
Well, I got extremely lucky with the under, but anyone who had the over in the Birmingham-Tampa Bay USFL game last Saturday got hosed. The total was 40 or 41, depending on when you bet the game. And Tampa Bay scored a touchdown halfway through the fourth quarter to make the score 21-18, which was 39 points. With the USFL's unique rule, going for a 3-point conversion to tie the game was a no-brainer. Starting from the 10-yard line, quarterback rolls out. He sees a wide-open receiver in the back of the end zone for the easy conversion. Somehow, miraculously or foolishly, the receiver goes out of the back of the end zone and too deep, catches the ball out of bounds. I got super lucky and eventually hit a 3-team parlay. But anyone who bet the over, they got hosed.
Yeah, a lot of people did, Joe. They did get hosed.
You got hosed.
Well, thank you very much for listening, and we'll have another show next week.
You've been listening to a Covering the Field sports show. Visit us at coveringthefield.com. Email us your comments, questions, and You Got Host stories at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. Thank you to our junior IT, Caden Martin. Thanks to our assistant to the editorial staff, Boots McCage. We will see you all next time for another episode of Covering the Field.